right. You want me to? We're good?
We're good.
Okay. Technical difficulties, everybody.
Always a
Anyway,
technical difficulty.
did you just say Kim's a technical difficulty?
I said it always is, but it
Oh,
is Kim always the technical difficulty.
it's okay. It's funny.
That's what happens when you're in your 50s.
Oh, please.
You forget how you can't do all this stuff.
Oh, Lord. Okay, everybody, welcome to Spirit Cafe Sessions. Technical difficulties and all.
Hmm.
With Nikki and Kim. And we have a special episode for you today. It is entitled The Spooky Stories. We're taking a little bit of a break from our spiritual stuff, and we're going to talk about another side of spiritualism. Kim has disappeared.
What the heck? What? Okay, better. Jesus.
That is going, that is what's going on the TikToks.
I'm like, what the hell? I didn't touch anything. Why
It's
do you
okay.
hate me?
No, okay. We'll start again. Ready?
Hmm.
Okay. Welcome everybody to Spirit Cafe Sessions with Nikki and Kim and all the technical difficulties we've been
Always technical
experiencing.
difficulties.
Anyway, welcome to this episode. And this is a special episode because it is entitled Spooky Stories. So for the next hour, Kim and I are going to read / tell you of some spooky stories that we've collected or has happened to ourselves or our loved ones. And it's a two-parter. So the next episode will feature stories from our listeners and I don't know, anything and everything else, right, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works out, whatever.
Whatever. Kim is just, she's done, everybody. She's done for the day.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, look at my ghost mug. I'm drinking
Ah,
out of ghost mug, everybody. It's not
very
mine,
cute.
it's my sister's.
Oh, look at
Um,
it.
yeah.
What are you
And
drinking?
I'm drinking Bahama blue tea from David's Tea. And it's like
Oh,
caffeine free because I've been hyped up energetically on nothing, but I think the full moon.
oh,
And I love it. I don't drink it often because it's sweet, but it's like peaches and lychee and lemongrass. And it's so good. And I'm drinking it today.
want to see my shirt?
Mm-hmm.
I had to find it
Always.
today.
Get out. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
I love it.
I actually got it 2019-ish because yesterday for us was October 5th, and it was the 6-year anniversary of me being ordained to be a minister.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Time flies.
So before we get into our spooky stories, did you do anything to celebrate?
No, I went to a board meeting. Yay.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's called being an adult. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Celebrations come later.
Yeah.
But I hope you celebrate this week and do something for yourself, Kim.
We will see. We will see.
But I always tell her that, everybody. She never does. Anyway, okay. We are ready for some spooky stories. Oh, I forgot to pull the tarot card again
Oh, yes.
of
Let's do the
the
tarot card.
week. And I'm going to use the Phantasm card. Let's see here. What is the tarot card of this week? What do we have? Flipped upside down for me. What do we have here? Oh, I like this one. It's the Fool. That's one of my favorite cards. It's one of my favorite cards because it means taking a leap of faith and just doing what you've wanted to do and having an adventure and starting a new beginning. And it is, believe it or not, a tarot sign of having complete faith because you're taking a leap of faith without knowing the outcome, but believing it's going to end in your best interest, that energetically everything's going to work out for you. So for anyone listening who maybe by chance is really nervous about making a decision, making a move, unsure of what to do, unsure of whether to, either cut somebody out, move into a relationship, start a new career, whatever it is, take that leap of faith because I'm telling you with this card, it's definitely going to work out for you.
That's good.
There you go.
Good
Yay.
time around some Halloween parties too, hey?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But don't be super foolish either. Don't be naive and
No,
foolish.
no,
Anyway.
no.
Okay. So I have quite a few of my own, but I'm actually going to cut some out because Kim has some super exciting ones to read for you guys. I have a few of my own that happened in my life and my family's life. One actually recently that happened this past weekend. And then I do have two stories about hauntings here in Canada. One close to Kim because I like to freak her out. I'm
Yeah, it
kidding.
doesn't freak me out.
Oh, okay, there's something I wanna say. All right, without going to detail, and I didn't tell Kim I was doing this, but the other day, Kim texted me something about asking the universe for a sign, okay? Okay, I won't get into this details because we just had this episode a couple weeks ago come out about signs and synchronicities. So Kim asked for a sign. Um, and it came in the form of a song that she's never heard before. And when she looked up the lyrics, it resonated 100% to do with the situation that she was asking for a sign from, right? 100%. And she told me that yesterday. And I got goosebumps. And I'll tell you why. Because this is a band that I won't admit to liking. So, Kim, shush.
Nobody
and
does.
and it's yeah, that's a big hint there. Um, and it's the only song of theirs I like, and I call it my secret song, and nobody knows I listen to it all the time except for Kim, because when she told me that story, I had to tell her it was my secret song, and I screenshotted her everything that it's on my anyway, there you go. That's a sign.
And I not
2
only
signs.
heard that song once, I heard it in a store, and then I heard it listening, watching a TikTok reader.
See? And by the way, the song is not popular.
Mm-mm.
It was released so long ago. Nobody even listens to these people anymore. Well, I'm sure they
Oh,
are, but
they
they're not
do.
very popular. But yeah, and they're not very popular, and you rarely hear them anywhere. I'll be honest. I've never heard them on TikTok. So
Oh.
look at that. No signs everywhere. So yeah,
Mm.
sorry, Kim. I just had to throw that story before we talk about ghosts.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
pretty exciting. So
awesome.
just gotta try to remember
That's
that's
right.
what's going
That's right.
on. Trust,
That
trust,
is right.
trust. Yeah.
Okay. So quick story number 1. I'm actually going to tell it because it just happened. So it's Halloween. There was this little festival in the town that I live in. It sounds very, but it is. It was a little festival. It was called Halloween Fest, or no, Scare in the Square is what it was called. And it was a festival. And I asked my girls if they wanted to go. And of course, my oldest is like, I'm not going. I'm too cool for that, blah, blah, blah. Fine, whatever, then
They
don't go.
always are.
Yeah. So my youngest wants to go, but she doesn't want to do any of the attractions that are there because they're boring or they're for kids or whatever. So there was something called a paranormal tour. How I didn't know what it was beyond me because I actually did a whole bunch of these in my 20s, but I didn't know that that's what they were called, I guess. I don't know. So we went. I bought tickets for this thing. It was called the Paranormal Tour. It was in the museum and archives in the town that I live at, city that I live in, sorry. And we went for the 6 o'clock tour. So when I walked in, everything's dark, everything's lit up, and there is the Ontario Paranormal Society standing right there. And then I realized that crap, paranormal tour didn't just mean walk around learning ghost stories, it meant an investigation.
Oh, fun
So I
times.
haven't done one of these since my 20s. I did a handful of them. There was some where I didn't feel anything, somewhere that was just really creepy and for me, unexplainable stuff. So I said, oh, and I'm taking my youngest, who is a Scorpio rising and has as much Scorpio in her chart as I do. So I already knew that this was going to be an experience and a half. So we go in and she's a little bit terrified, but I'm making her do it because I'm trying to teach her how to be brave. So we do it together. We've got our little EMF readers. We've got all that stuff situated. We're walking through the museum. I have to say something though. This team, I'm going to give them a shout out. The Ontario Paranormal Society, they were phenomenal. They were like, my kid is only 10 or 11. I don't even remember. They were so kind to her and so informative, especially one of the tour guides that stuck with us the entire time. I'm giving her a shout out. Her name was Sandy. She totally made my kid feel so comfortable, and she spoke to her on a one-on-one level, which I really appreciated. And if anybody in Ontario is listening, seriously, look them up on Facebook, look them up on YouTube because they're freaking phenomenal. But we went on this tour and we learned a few stories that there was a spirit of a little girl that was in this room with a big, beautiful dollhouse, massive, gorgeous dollhouse, and toys in cabinets and all that stuff. And she occupied that room. And they had little cat flashing balls everywhere that didn't move. They had little boxes that picked up on energy. And, when we were in there, we were asking questions, and nothing was happening. Tell me why, when my kid asked questions, every ball went off in the room.
'Cause she
The
is
Yeah,
more
yeah.
open.
And then the little box that answers yes or no depending on energy fluctuation would not work for when anyone asked a question except for my kid. My 11-year-old kid who at one point asked the little girl in the room, are you a good spirit or are you a bad spirit? And she responded. And then at one point she asked her if she liked her dollhouse and she responded with a yes. With my it's anyway. And then at one point in the museum, we went into another room, and in that room, they had an old printing press. They had an old piano, and it was gorgeous. They also had an old fire hose and all this stuff. And we found out in that room it was occupied by a soldier, possibly a firefighter, and then a reverend that passed away. And in that room, when I was in there, as a group with those people, they had brought out a spirit box, and the spirit box was giving us some kind of answers, but not as much as what when my kid asked the questions.
Hmm.
So that was weird and that was crazy. They asked if the little girl was standing behind my kid at one point. The little balls went off. You can't move these little balls. The only way they'll go off is if you touch them, and they are like on a flat surface. They're not. You can't move them. Okay,
Did
because
they
they
have them
even
glued on? Because I
I
have those
I stuck
balls.
on, yeah, something like
Yeah,
that,
okay.
yeah? So
Okay.
you can't they will not flash unless you actually tap them, right? And they showed us that. So the amount of those balls that flashed when my kid was walking by was crazy. Anyway, so it was an amazing experience.
Oh,
So
very
that
cool.
was something that was a little bit weird. They actually went back the next day without me, my daughters and my mom and my sister, and they did it. And in one session, my oldest tapped on a glass, and a few seconds later, she heard a tapping back, and she took off. She
Yeah.
just took off. Um, and then my sister said that she 100% felt something pull her pant leg when they were she felt that tug, and she looked down, and she said she didn't want to react because my sister's very stoic, so she
Mhm.
just looked down and was like, alrighty, and then just moved to the side and hoped to god they would leave her pant leg alone. So that was very interesting at the museum and archives in my city. Yeah, so I had to share that because that was just recent. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, okay, speaking of my mom, I have a story with my mom, that I'm going to tell, and, it's not a long story, but, has something to do with a legend that has some notoriety to it, since the early 2000s and the internet exploded and people could share their stories, but, my mom, when she was a little girl, I think I don't know whether she was 8, 9, 10. She was young. She said she had went camping with her parents and her sister, and they had a great time, and it was time for bed. They were in a big tent, and it was time to go to sleep. And she said as she was dozing off or whatever, she had looked up and she saw a figure of a man outside of their tent with a bower's hat on, Boeing hat or whatever they're called. And he just stood there watching my mom, and she freaked out, and she was telling my grandfather, there's somebody outside the tent. There's somebody outside the tent. Like, and then my grandpa looks and there's no one there. And the shadow thing is gone. They go outside. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. Their neighbors are very close to them. So somebody would have noticed if there was a person in a long coat with a weird hat standing in front of my mom's tent, right? But nobody saw anything. My mom thought it was a hallucination. She's little. She thought she imagined it, whatever she did. The next day, she found out that her uncle had passed away from a car accident.
Hmm.
And of course, when she was little, she thought, oh, coincidence. But it wasn't until she was older that she found out that possibly what she saw was the Hat Man. Now, the
Mm.
reason why I'm bringing him up is because I actually find the story so fascinating, and I find sleep paralysis and all that stuff incredibly fascinating. The Hat Man is something, whenever the Hat Man pops up in any podcast that I'm listening to, in any, documentary I'm watching, I am glued to it because I'm so enamored with the story of the Hat Man. Of course, I've never seen the Hat Man. I don't know if I ever want to. There's a mix of stories where people will say that he's just a figment of imagination. It's kind of like an urban legend that grew. And people just, because people have known about him when they suffer from sleep paralysis, that's who they envision, either him or the hag, standing over their bed. Some people swear that this is funny, the more Benadryl that you take, the bigger chances are that you will see him as you're dozing off. It's funny, like I like people are like, I swear to God, like I took Benadryl and I was waiting and I was waiting and I saw him and he showed up and I swear to God it has something to do with Benadryl. It's really weird. You can find it on the internet, but I really think that because Benadryl is one of those medications that's really good for making us drowsy physically before we go mentally, and that's kind of like what sleep paralysis is, right? Your brain wakes up before your body, and that's why some people, when when they suffer from sleep paralysis, they do see shadow people, and the Hat Man's one of them, right? And I'm not saying that he doesn't exist, and I'm not saying that it's fully imagination, because there have been many instances where the Hat Man has made an appearance. I mean, he's been, of course, reported in the early 2000s. He's reported now, but he was also reported in the 80s, in the 90s, before anybody knew exactly who he was, right? So he very well could be known as a shadow person. And he's very unique because he exists in almost every culture in the world and every different civilization, as a sleep paralysis shadow person, right? And he's always described, though, like looking the same way, that he's either 6 feet tall or 10 feet tall. He's very thin. He's wearing that long trench coat. He's got that hat. Sometimes his eyes are like, red or gold. Sometimes there's a mist around him. Sometimes he's just, there in the corner, but it's always a very specific hat and a very specific trench coat. And he looks very eerie to a lot of people. Some people swear he just stands in the corner of your room and watches you sleep. Some people swear that he hovers over you when you sleep. But the one thing that people all across the world say when they see him is he never wants to actually cause you physical harm. If you do see him, whether it's a figment of your imagination or shadow people exist and he is paying you a visit, he literally is just there to watch you sleep. And it's like he's either energetically, watching you, energetically possibly taking something from you, because you will end up exhausted from sleep paralysis. It happens. But never in anything that I found did the Hat Man ever cause anybody like physical pain. He's just very scary looking. There even is a website devoted to him and tracking him across the world, and all these stories, the hatmanproject.org or .com. I can't remember, it just escaped me, but so freaking fascinating to me, the Hat Man stories. So I thought it was really interesting that my mom most likely saw the Hat Man when she was a kid. And I wonder if my mom listens to the podcast, even though I told her not to, but that's okay. I wonder if she remembers telling us that story. I think she told me and my brother that story because I was badgering her one night to tell me something really scary. I can be very annoying. Anyway, so she probably answered that as she's listening to this episode. So yeah, so I think that if my mom has any more stories about the Hat Man or she remembers anything else, I'm going to get that from her. But anyway, so I have that story, which I thought was very interesting, and I want to talk about the Hat Man because of my slight obsession with him. And my God, I don't like, there are podcasts after podcasts talking about the Hat Man. It's on Reddit, 4chan, all these stories, right? People talking about how they saw the Hat Man. And I really encourage you guys, if you find that story interesting, to listen to a couple of podcasts that feature it, or even read up some stories, because it's actually pretty fascinating. It's really weird how people all over the world report the same kind of figure, even being so disconnected, right? There are people that report the Hat Man in countries all over the world that have no internet access, but they, like, it's weird. It's just weird. It's a weird phenomenon, and I thought it was interesting because he kind of looks creepy, and I really hope he never visits me. But at the same time, it would be cool if he did. But no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah,
But the disclaimer, don't be taking Benadryl in large
yes.
doses. It can be
Please don't. So
detrimental to
dangerous for you.
your continuing to be maintain on this plane.
Exactly. Do not do that. That is very bad for your health. Very, very bad for your health. And if you actually do want to see the Hat Man, there are people who actually meditate to see him, and that's much more safer than taking Benadryl. So if you're actually
Yes.
that hardcore and you're like, I want to see what the Hat Man looks like, please meditate and do not take Benadryl just willy nilly, because that's scary.
Yeah,
Don't do
because
that.
it can crush your potassium and your heart can stop.
That's right. That's right. A lot of people don't know that, eh? People don't know that. They think it
Okay.
just affects like, oh, your liver and your kidneys and your stomach. There's a lot of meds out there that affect way
Mm,
more than just, a little bit of your organs, and people don't know that.
no, no. Benadryl
Anyway,
is not something to mess with.
no, no, definitely not. Definitely not. So I know Kim's got a couple stories, so I'm gonna move on to a story. I have two very quickly ones. Um, my hauntings are from Canada, and there's a lot because we're a pretty haunted country. So it's hard to pick, but I decided to pick one from where Kim is because I think it's really
Ish-ish.
beautiful. Beautiful. Ish. You're right. Near Kim ish.
It's about
Um,
5 hours.
okay. Well, that's still an ish.
Yeah, ish-ish.
Ish. And then one haunting that happened in the 1880s. That's how far long ago this one happened. So I've got one that I'm going to start with now. It's took place in Nova Scotia, and it's called the Great Amherst Mystery. And it is about a haunting, a poltergeist type haunting, one of the very first ones ever documented by an actual doctor. And believe it or not, a trickster, as in somebody who put on magic acts to trick the audience into believing things that weren't there. He was very much so involved because he wanted to debunk the poltergeist and the haunting, because he didn't believe in that stuff.
Oh, we got a lot of those.
Yes. So, and spoiler alert, he came out as a believer. So here we go. The Great Amherst Mystery. All right. So, Walter Hubble recounted his personal experience of this mystery, and it has been perpetrated to be one of the most widely witnessed poltergeist phenomena in history. Okay. This was written by Nicole Barker. So he observed these events with the family in their home from June 1879 to August 1879. He was also an authority of elusive effects that stage performers like himself would use to entertain and trick audience members into believing performed magic acts. Right? So, with his background in professional acting, he believed he could be able to decipher any trickery afoot or deception tactics used in the widely reported Amherst haunting and expose the mystery to be a fraudulent act put on by the afflicted family. Okay? So it all started on the 28th of August in 1878. So this is a year before he started this investigation. Okay. 19-year-old Esther Cox went out driving with Bob McNeil, a young local man. And during their drive, Bob suddenly pulled the buggy over in a remote area and pointed a revolver at Esther, commanding her to get out. But unsure of what his plans were, Esther was terrified and stood her ground, refusing to leave the buggy. Her refusal made him increasingly angry, and luckily she was saved by the sounds of another wagon approaching in the distance. So who knows what this Bob guy was planning to do with poor Esther. Okay. Fearing being caught, Bob quickly put the revolver away and drove Esther back home. Locals described Bob as cruel and even went to say that he would skin cats alive and watch them run about in pain for his own amusement. He is said to have left Amherst shortly after the incident, but he was still alive in 1879 when the hauntings occurred. Okay? But within
Mhm.
a month of her almost frightening attack, mysterious events started at the Tweed Cottage in Amherst, Nova Scotia, where Esther resided. Several ghosting entities all of a sudden would be identified throughout Esther's upcoming ordeal. It is worth mentioning that the chief ghost that was haunting her shared several traits in common with Esther's attacker. They had nicknamed him Bob, which I found that very interesting. Okay. So during the first 3 months that Walter was there observing these events, he found himself unable to come to any firm conclusions in his attempt to explain the supernatural phenomena. Okay. He had a theory that maybe the astral body of Bob McLean had been tormenting Esther, and creating a demon named after him, right? Hubble also believed that after any attack, the demon would try to attach itself to Esther instead and was the most active spirit. That's what he theorized, okay? That's what he figured was the story that Esther and the people that she was living with were telling him. They were describing these entities. They were describing the poltergeist and the head poltergeist, right? And he realized, okay, Esther is creating the story about astral projection, and this Bob guy is the head demon or whatever. That's what he theorized until he started to hear unexplainable scratching and banging noises. Okay. And he could not find the outcome of these noises. He would hear scratching under the floorboards. He would check under the floorboards. There was nothing there to create the scratching, right? The banging would come from the walls, but there was no way there could be banging in the walls or on the other side of the wall. He said it was impossible for there to be banging, right? So now he's starting to think that the stories they're telling him about astral projection are things that Esther is seeing in her dreams or meditations or just signs that, this is what's happening around Esther. Now, Esther lived in this small house with her married sister and her husband, Daniel. Okay. They had 2 little sons as well, Willie and George. They all lived together in this house. The entire year-long haunting of Esther included a huge range of activities, not just the scratching and the banging, but also objects disappearing and reappearing in other rooms when no one was home except for one person, spontaneous fires, voices, and physical ailments. The voices would start identifying themselves as Maggie, Mary, Peter, Jane, Eliza, Bob, tons of random names. All of these names, though, are people that are related to Esther. And then, of course, Bob, which Hubble found very interesting. Now, when it came to one of the attacks, Jeannie, Esther's sister, described Esther as appearing with short hair, almost standing on end, her face blood red, and her eyes looking as if they were about to pop from their sockets, while her hands were grasping the back of a chair so tightly that her fingernails sank into the wood. Okay. Esther, when she woke up from that, she was swollen. She felt like her skin was about to burst and it was hot to the touch. Okay, so this was the incident that made Hubble be like, okay, maybe we got to get somebody in here, right? So they called in their doctor, Dr. Carrot, and he came several days later to examine Esther's strange symptoms. And he ended up diagnosing her with, shockingly, hysteria, because
Oh,
all
oh,
women were diagnosed with hysteria back then.
they
And
were.
he prescribed, all right, and he prescribed her a sedative to help treat it. Now, Walter Hubble did not think that she was hysterical at all. He did believe her nerves were shot and that maybe, that attack on Bob, or that attack by Bob definitely could have, it was trauma, right? And she could have created something. That's what one of the conclusions that Walter at that time had come up with, because the story of Bob's attack changed a little bit from time to time, meaning he felt that Esther maybe was attacked by Bob in some manner, and she just wanted people to know she wasn't, because it was very back then. If it was something, then
Yeah.
people would shun her, right? So she
Yeah.
might have lied about it, and that's why Hubble thought it was a nervous system problem, which it might have been. So after she was sedated, Walter Hubble reported a ton of strange effects from Esther. Things that got worse, marks on her, bruises on her, scratches on her. He had no idea at one point where scratches came from because she had no nails. Okay, she was confined to a room by herself. There was nothing in her room at all. Nothing was allowed in her room, nothing sharp. He would find scratches on her, bruises on her. When she was sleeping, she'd wake up with bruises because there'd be people sleeping at her bedside. She hadn't moved all light. How did these bruises show up, right? So all this kind of strange stuff ended up happening. So there was one moment or one night where the doctor decided that he was going to stay the night with Esther, just to make sure she was going to be okay, because he had come back, I guess, to give her more sedatives. He was awake all night at her bedtime, and he actually remembers, okay, scratching and the banging that Hubble had told him that he had heard on many occasions before. And what he saw appearing on the wall, and this is actually undocumented, you can actually Google it. You'll see the doctor actually writing documentation about what he saw scratch into the wall. And what he saw is a word that said, or lines that said, "Esther, you will be mine to kill." He saw that scratched into the wall of her bedroom, okay? He became a quick believer, because not only did he see that in the same night, but he also saw the pillow underneath her head move, Okay. And of course, noses under the floorboard accompanied all of that. Now, because he was a doctor, he realized, I don't know where that scratching came from. I don't know where that mark, those words came from. I don't know why her pillow's moving, but I'm going to find out what the hell's going on with these scratches. He went outside because he thought it was the weather. It was still outside. It was still, there was no wind. It was nothing. He couldn't even, like, he could not, for the life of him, find any evidence that could prove that the scratching was something that it wasn't. All right. So, it didn't stop him from performing a bunch of tests on Esther because her health was physically, it was getting to her, right? She was losing weight. She was pale. She was not eating as much. So he decided to keep doing some tests on her. And December of that year, she was diagnosed with a serious throat and nose infection, and she had to be hospitalized during it. Okay. The entire time that she was hospitalized, all the paranormal activity stopped in the house.
Hmm.
Nothing happened. Okay.
Guess
But
he
when
wasn't
she
living with you.
well, seriously. But when she returned home, like that, clockwork, like that, fires started happening, including one overnight in the cellar when Esther was sleeping. The whole family was sleeping. The fire happened, okay? Shortly after the fire, a ghost apparently appeared to Esther, she said, and insisted that if she doesn't leave the house, they would set the entire house on fire and burn them all to death, okay? Now, the family at that point had had enough because it was like a year, and they believed Esther when she said, if we don't leave, we're going to all burn to death. So they decided that they were going to try to find her temporary shelter while they looked for other help, right? So she took,
Who's gonna step up for that one?
somebody did actually. So a neighbor by the name of John White took her in. Okay.
John isn't smart.
All right. But it's because he didn't believe in the activity. So he took her in. There was nothing. Nothing was happening. Okay. For a couple of days, it was quiet. I think it was for a couple, 2 weeks, it was quiet at this house. And then it started again at a different house. The ghost began to make contact with Esther in the White home. Random fires started. So, in fear of losing his home, John White ended up convincing Esther to accompany him to work at a dining salon where she could also stay there, right? The ghost, her ghost, followed her and showed off his ability to many guests and strangers. Many people actually reported that seeing objects move whenever Esther was in the building by herself. Okay. And at one point, a knife belonging to John's son was taken from his hands in the saloon when he was visiting Esther. And Esther allegedly was stabbed in the back twice, just like ghostly stabbed, right? But the knife was then locked away by John's son. So that was very interesting because there are a lot of people that say they actually did see the knife go straight into Esther's back. I just flew into Esther's back. Um, the interesting thing about this is that this ghost, this poltergeist, followed Esther wherever she went because obviously she wasn't allowed back with her sisters because, of course, not. She wasn't allowed back at John White. So she had moved several times in her life. Couple times her sister let her back in, only to boot her out, right? Because stuff started to happen. But whatever she was haunted at followed her wherever she went. And
Wow.
every time it's like there would be certain events that would just spiral completely out of control and they all revolved around fires. Of course, there was a lot of people that said that, Esther is a pyro and she's the one starting these fires. But Walter Hubble is one of the people that said impossible because there were instances where the fire started when there was nobody in that room in the house or there was no one in the house but me and Esther. Okay, or that we were locked behind this. We were here. We were here. She was outside. The fire started inside. There was like, so it was very, very odd. Okay. But
Hmm.
if you look at old newspaper articles, and I saw a bunch about this case, lots of neighbors, lots of friends, and lots of town people's reported strange things happening whenever Esther was around. Okay. It actually got very, very big. And it's why it's one of the most studied cases because it was never actually solved.
Hmm.
Walter Hubble could not disprove it as a hoax, and by the end of it, he reported that he came to believe that ghosts and haunting and negative energy and beings were very much real.
Wow.
And you know what's sad about Esther is she ended up getting arrested for a barn fire because people had implicated her in this fire. I think in like 1879, the end of 1879, because she was close to the barn, and everything was destroyed. But there was no actual evidence that Esther was one that started the fire. So she was arrested and convicted and sentenced to 4 months to jail for arson. She was released, though, after that month. And any poltergeist activity that happened after that, she kept solely to herself. But people did know that that she had it, because people there anyone who visited Esther after, when she got married, she actually had a son and stuff like that, weird things would happen. She kept it to herself, or she asked people not to tell her anymore. And at one point, apparently in 1888 or 1885, after Esther was married and she had her son, apparently the hauntings just gradually disappeared.
Hmm.
It's weird.
That is weird.
And you know what? I've always heard of the Amherst haunting, but I never actually knew the story behind it until I started to research it. That
Hmm.
was weird. Yeah, creepy. So I like that one because was she haunted by a poltergeist, or did she suffer from a nervous system disorder that caused her to black out and light things on fire? It's what you believe, right? Um Anyway, so the next story is literally not even going to be 5 minutes, because I just wanted to talk about the Banff Spring Hotel, because it's beautiful and it's
It is.
gorgeous. And so many movies are, I don't know if they film movies there anymore, if they're allowed, but a lot of movies
Oh, Alberta has lots of movies.
are they? So I wonder if they
Yeah.
still film there. Um, because it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I mean, it was built for the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1910 and 1911, and it's beautiful. Like, it's gorgeous. It's a chateau style. It's got, beautiful arts and crafts finishes, masonry everywhere. Just Google. I'm gonna add a picture at the bottom of the screen, but honestly, just Google it. You'll be surprised.
It looks
But
like a
it
castle.
Yes, and it's arguably one of the most haunted locations in all of Canada. And there are, now, of course, these stories, some people say there's no actual documentation of these stories existing. But so many people see these spirits, that it's very interesting. One of the spirits haunting the hotel is a bride, and there's conflicting stories about how she passed away, but it was in about the 1930s. She was getting ready for her wedding. She was all dolled up. She looked absolutely beautiful. And some people say that while she was ascending the beautiful marble staircase to meet her groom, her shoe got caught in the hem of her wedding dress, and she fell down the beautiful marble stairs. And unfortunately, she didn't survive. They're if you look at those stairs, it would be a miracle if anybody survived them. Some people also reported that when she fell, her wedding dress touched a candle nearby, and it caused a fire. And the only reason they said that is because back in the day, in I think it was 1920, there was quite a few fires in the hotel. And so they say it was her spirit, because when she fell down the stairs, her dress caught on fire, and anyway, she ends up meeting her end, breaking her neck on the marble floor. And to this day, there's so many people that they say that they see a bride dancing in one of the beautiful ballrooms there, or the image of a bride on the staircase, just cascading there, like, super lovely, right? And you know what's interesting is there was a coin and a stamp released in Canada in like 2011 or 12 or 13, I can't remember, with the ghost bride on it, because
Oh,
she's
yeah?
so legendary. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I remember that. The other thing that I found very interesting was that there are rooms and floors in the Banff Spring Hotel that you cannot allegedly rent. There is also a floor or there's also a room that doesn't exist anymore, that they had blocked off. And apparently it's room 873. If you request this room, you'll be told that it no longer exists, because according to legend and story, several people met their demise in this room, from tales of a murder suicide to a family being murdered. It's apparently one of the most gruesome stories, that the spirit of a mother and daughter never left the Banff Springs Hotel room 873 because they were murdered. Guests who stayed in that room report shrieking sound and cries in the middle of the night. Housekeeping staff insist on seeing sometimes fingerprints appearing on the mirrors or the walls that would not come clean. So after so many frightening reports, the hotel no longer lets anyone rent that room, and it is sealed access. Nobody can go into that room to sleep. Thought that was interesting. And I also read a few stories about that I think it's the ninth floor, is sealed off. There's one floor that they don't rent the rooms to unless they absolutely have to because the energy in there is just too weird. And then I really like the story about a bellman because there's apparently a friendly ghostly bellman, and he's from Scotland, and he loved that hotel so much, and he loved his job so much, and he loved the patrons so much that he said that when he died he would return to the hotel, and he did. When he passed away in the mid 70s, apparently people see him there everywhere. He's an older man in an out of style bellman uniform. His name is Sam, and people see him all the time in the corner of the hallways, or like him trying to provide assistance if they get themselves locked out of their room. They turn to tip and he disappears. Like, it's crazy. I think it's very, very sweet. Very, very sweet. So I had to mention that one because I found that that is an adorable spirit.
That
Sam the
is
Bellman.
an adorable spirit.
Anyway, see, so that was my quick one.
Very cool. Well, I know, so in 2023, I went on a boat cruise, and it was the California coast.
Oh,
So I went with my mom and my sister, and it was in San Francisco, San Diego, and then someplace in Mexico, but it started and ended in LA.
okay.
Anyhow, so um I went in San Diego. They've got a lot of like crazy haunted things. And one of them is the Whaley House.
Okay.
And the Whaley House is apparently one of the most haunted houses, sites, I guess, in, I think, America, maybe farther, but and it started from the people who lived there. They lit
Okay.
they had the house, and it was actually on the outside of it. It had like a store, it had a the courthouse, the place where they hung you. So there's actually in the living room like the arch is there
Wow.
where they used to hang people.
Okay.
Um and in particular there was a gentleman, I think his name was Big John. He had been um stealing, I think. They thought he was
Okay.
stealing. Like, I can't remember the exact story of it, but um so I don't find that I get a lot of this stuff happens to me. Like, I don't get the spooky stuff. I carried my phone around, recording and stuff, and it didn't pick up anything. And there's lots of people who have been it. Like, if you go watch paranormal shows,
Mm-hmm.
they're always going to the Whaley House. So
Okay.
definitely look it up. Anyhow, so we went through, and then we went to the gift shop, and in the gift shop on a like a bookcase,
Mm-hmm.
there was some tarot cards.
Okay.
So I just picked them up and I looked at them and kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, right? Just regular tarot cards. And I stuck them in, like, put them back onto the shelf. Like, and remember sticking them on the back, and walked and started looking at some other things. Well, my mom was kind of by there, and then there's the cashier, and all of a sudden those tarot cards flew off the shelf onto the
Oh
ground.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah, my mom, she was a little nervous about that, and I just laughed, and so did the lady, the cashier.
You laughed. She laughed
And I
too?
said,
Okay.
yeah, the cashier did, because she sees stuff like that all the time, and I said,
Okay.
"Oh, yeah,
Fair.
they're just messing around, mom," and she was just like, basically, like, I don't drink, but
Yeah.
she was basically like, "Let's go get a margarita next door."
awesome.
Like,
That's awesome.
sure you can be fine, mom. So that was a neat kind of a thing. But definitely look up the Whaley House. It's and the story. It's quite
I'm gonna link it. I'll link it.
crazy. Also on this tour we were
Hmm.
on, the gentleman was standing outside of the courthouse where the courthouse was. And just, we were outside and as he was talking, the door on its own just opened up. Yeah,
Oh,
and he says that
that
happens a
creeps
lot.
me out. Really?
Yeah, yeah. You could tell that
Ugh.
it freaked out a lot of people in the area, but I was just like, "Okay, neat."
Oh, that freaks me
So,
out. When I see that, when I hear that, when I see that in movies and stuff, I don't know why the door opening on its own always will freak me out, but it does. Like it does.
well, unfortunately, this is a place, like, there was so many, odd deaths in the family.
Okay.
Too, so it was haunted, like, their baby died quite early, and, there's
Hmm.
just a lot if you read about it, like, there's a lot
Okay.
of stuff because of well, they were hanging people.
Right. Yeah.
So they
Right.
were
Yeah.
basically like judge, jury, executioner, did everything,
Awful. Hmm.
right? So, in particular, there is if I can find the pictures, I'll send them to you. I don't know
Yeah, because I'll
if
add
you
it.
can
Yeah,
link
for
them.
sure.
Some of the ones that I took,
Hmm.
of the place, but yeah, so that was kind of a neat tour to see and then have, my poor mom. I don't know, I
Freak
shouldn't
out.
laugh, but it was funny. Um, 'Cause that stuff doesn't freak me out anymore. Um, yeah, so there was that story in my life. Um, I do have another story. I'm not sure if I've ever told it before.
Well, if you're
I may
comfortable, tell it.
well, it's just from when I was a kid.
Okay.
I think I kinda talked about it before. So when I was little, probably 4 or 5, I guess, maybe in
Hmm.
that area, I kind of think I was around kindergarten, and I slept on a bunk bed in this it was like a not a it was a double wide, like, it's like
Okay.
2 mobile homes kinda I don't know how it works. It was a new place, it was a new development, and I haven't looked into it to see what was there prior to
Right.
this, um, but does it does like, I do remember having some weird feelings there.
Oh.
Um But anyhow, so I remember being in bed, and this happened a few times, but the one that was the most prominent in my memory is I was kind of nervous, and I remember looking at the door, and this like lady came and stood there and was looking at me, and I thought maybe it was my mom because nothing else made
Okay.
sense. And
Mhm.
I said, "Mom, mom," and it didn't reply. So, then I went into my mom and dad's room, and they were in bed sleeping.
Oh, get out.
So, yeah, so there's this woman that would stand and watch me when I was when I was little, but, those are the stories that you tell people, and then you just got big imagination, so you kind of push
Yes.
it away, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, like that I'll never forget that, just I was so young, it was so many years ago, but
Mm,
just to remember it. So, that was my
wow.
other one of my stories.
Well, do you wanna read the stories you got? Or if we don't have time, you can read them in part 2. It's up to you.
Well, how about I'll do this one, which is spooky story in Egypt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Let's do that one.
this is off of Reddit. And on Reddit, the poster said, "This is not mine, but rather my friend's story."
Mhm.
It says, "I live in Austria, even though my family and I have roots in Egypt. My dad's from a small village on the west side of the Nile, about 6 hours away from Cairo. We often visit there nearly every summer, staying at my uncle's house. In that village, there's also a very old school built in the 60s. It's not even 60. It's not that old. I wonder, is it like 1860s? I don't know. How old is this person? Anyhow,
It isn't old.
it's fairly close to the residential area. It was never torn down, even though the school was shut down a long time ago, and its remains have no purpose at all.
Oh,
This has to be the 1860s because I can't see this
it
being the
has. Yeah,
60s.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The main gate is locked, and you can only enter by climbing the walls, which surround that place, and the classrooms
Hmm.
are all boarded up.
Okay.
The youngsters of that village often meet up at the schoolyard. It's the gathering point of the village's youth, and everyone knows that. Essentially, whenever you're there, you're bound to meet someone to hang out with.
Oh.
Sounds like fun. I've heard a lot of stories about the school, some creepy and weird, and some rather disturbing. But I never paid real attention to those since I don't like creeping myself out that much. But my friend's story made me never want to visit that place again.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. One night, it was around midnight, my friend and his clique decided to chill there. They'd buy a couple of sodas, some chips, and make themselves a cool night. Since that school was close to a farm that belonged to his family, and his dad had told him to check on the animals, enough food and etc., he told his
Mhm.
friends he'd meet them there after he did what his dad had asked him. After finishing checking on the animals, which he did rather quickly, he headed to the school. He climbed the walls nimbly, crossed the yard, and headed straight towards a white tree at the far end.
Wow.
None of his friends were there yet, so he decided to wait. He climbed that tree and sat down on a wide branch, both his legs dangling from either side of it. There was a chill in the night breeze, and only light was that of the stars and the moon. He was staring at the sky when suddenly he heard something get knocked over in the boarded up classroom closest to him. A small thud, barely audible, but it alarmed him.
Yikes.
He thought it was an animal at first, but he remembered that there was no entrance point for of any kind of animal save insects. All of the windows and doors of the school had been 100% sealed off. He heard another thud, this time closer to him, then another. He started to get scared. He thought it could be a jinn, which is sort of a demon,
Oh,
and
yeah.
which you can look up if you're interested in that. Then suddenly he felt an evil of some sort step into play. He felt the nape hair stand up, and then the nape of his neck hair stand up, and that unearthly chill and uneasiness of danger.
Oof.
Then something pulled on his leg violently. He nearly fell, but grabbed the tree trunk and managed to hold on. He looked down, and there was nothing.
Oh,
And
jeez.
even though there was no time there, there was no one there, something pulled him again. This time he jumped out of the tree, ran across the yard, climbed the walls, and just sprinted home. My God, I would have done that so much before that.
Oh my
Anyhow,
god, me too. I was just thinking that, like, you do that now? I would've done that at the first thud. I'm out.
jeez Louise, man.
Ugh.
He felt as if whatever it was chasing him. After that, he never entered the school after sundown and never alone. His friends, although they believed him, still met up at that place but never reported anything weird happening. Unfortunately, my friend had even more strange occurrences afterwards of knocking voices randomly being woken up in the middle of the night, random bruises without origin. One time, it almost looked like he was pushed down the stairs when he was at my place. It was almost like whatever he had met there, it stuck to him. He consulted a local Atman, which is a sort of a priest, but for Islamic people,
Mhm.
and he was cleansed. He was asked to never ever enter that place again. He's now 21, and this was about 3 years ago.
Oh my god.
Isn't that freaky?
The fact that it took him that long to boot it out of there, I would have booted it out at the first I would have been like, "I'm out. Goodbye. Goodbye. See you guys tomorrow. I'm
Something
out."
pulled me, there's nothing around, see ya.
Yeah,
Oh
right?
god. I probably would've
Oh my
fell right on it
god.
and got back up and away you went.
Oh my gosh. I wanna look into that. I wanna see what kind of school anyway, maybe I don't wanna know what kind of school that was and what happened in there actually. Maybe I don't want to.
Well, you know, I haven't been to Egypt, but I've been to Turkey and those, areas kind of
Mhm.
very close to it, and it's so old.
Yeah.
There's so many like, it's just it can be freaky. Like, it's
Yeah.
just got
Should ask my
that
mom.
sense.
But
Oh, yeah, she just went there, didn't
she
she?
just went. I should ask her. And you know what's very
Mhm, mhm.
interesting in places like that and, and all over Europe, there are buildings that aren't exactly haunted like people think. It's just the residual energy of such negativity, right? That
Yeah.
creates this kind of feeling that you're being watched or that there's spirits or whatever. And it's just a ball of residual negative energy, right? It's very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Um, a lot of people assume that they're being haunted or that there's ghosts or that there's poltergeists, and it's really just a big ball of really crappy energy that needs to be released, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Actually, I'm gonna ask one of the questions that we had because it's interesting. It's interesting based on the story that you just said. I think it's so one
Okay.
of the people that was on my live recently, that was on one of my recent lives, DM me after and it was like, "Hey, I don't know if you've done the scary episode, but I had a question about spirits and stuff." And I was like, "No, we haven't. Like, give us your questions." And this client, he asked me if I think I'm being watched by a spirit at home or I think I'm hearing noises by a spirit, what should I do? I don't want to involve any religious people as I'm not very religious myself, but is there anything that I can do if I'm starting to feel uncomfortable and as if I'm being watched by a spirit? Interesting.
Yeah, there's lots you could do. Um, First of all, uh, I would strongly suggest you don't have to be religious, like, and
Mm-mm.
you don't have to be like, and when people say religious, a lot of people really mean Christian,
Yes.
right?
I was going to say they mean
Um,
Catholic and
so
Christianity.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's usually
Yeah.
what they mean when they say they're religious. I'm a minister of spiritualism, and it's a religion,
Hmm.
right? So, um, you know, I wouldn't just completely wipe out any type of religion. Just
Yeah.
just putting that out there. Um, but what you need to do is get yourself in a place where you feel comfortable, and just make sure that there's nothing odd or that could be making these kind of things, right? Like, it just
Hmm.
if this is something you're not experienced with. And then you should do a bit of a meditation.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
good.
you kind of sit there, get yourself
Hmm.
calm and into a spot. And before you do this, the very first thing that before you do anything spiritual, ever, 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 or anything at all with talking to entities or whatever,
Hmm.
um, set your intention.
Yes.
Okay. Never go in
Good
just
point.
blindly. So whether you're setting the attention doing like an opening prayer, um, or by saying, this is what I want to do,
Hmm.
set that intention and make sure it's a positive, high vibrational intention. Okay. And so once you've done that, then you kind of bring yourself through. You could do a guided meditation or whatever. Or you could just do a sort of a meditation, do some box breathing, whatever could get you into a calm place.
Hmm.
And then you can just say, um, what's happening. Like, you might say, "Who are you?" You might ask, and you don't have to say it out loud. You can say it in your head, and you'll get the answer in your head. So it'll be like you'll get answers, but they won't be your words.
Hmm.
So that's your communicating with spirit. So you can ask who it is, And if you're able to find out who it is, or even if you're not, you can just have a talk and just say, look, I absolutely appreciate, that you're here. Um, but, you kind of freak me out. I don't really like it.
Yeah.
Um, y- you can do whatever you want to not make me see you, but you're really freaking me out.
Mhm.
And that's really all
Yeah.
you need to do. You just got to ask because they generally, no matter what it is, you need to ask,
Yes.
right? So
Mhm.
whether you need their help or whatever, but you might actually find that this entity that is I guess with you or doing this kind of stuff, maybe they're there to help you, you
Yeah.
know? Try to set your fear away. Like they're not I can tell you that they're mostly not scary once you can know because
Mhm.
the only thing that makes it scary is your ego, right? Why are you scared? Oh, you might be hurt. They might do something scary. They
Yeah.
might do something to harm you, right? Like that's your ego,
Mhm.
okay? And so just kind of approach it with as open and with as much love as you can. And you might just find out that you have somebody who's there who's just trying to get your
Mhm.
attention because they want to help.
Yeah.
Maybe get a reading from a medium. Um, or just visit somebody who might be have that ability,
Mhm.
and see what they say. I wouldn't tell them any information
No.
beforehand, so you want to know that it's legitimate. You don't want somebody to try to make your situation into like a sideshow because unfortunately there's just so much stuff on the internet and
Yeah.
TV and all these people who do
Yeah.
this stuff. They just want to be rich and famous or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So you don't want somebody to mess with it. So you want to be it as genuine and authentic as possible.
Mhm.
So just ask for a reading. And if it doesn't really come up, just ask if at some point you can ask some questions after
Absolutely.
you get a feeling as to how legitimate this person is and if this person really is seeing stuff. And then you can ask them if they haven't addressed it. A lot of times they will address it because when you're going into the reading, you're going to want to set that as your
Yeah.
intention.
Intention. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, it's very rare, extremely rare that if you do have spirits in your house or whatever, or, watching you, so rare that they are scary and negative. Like, the
Mhm.
stories Kim and I read, or, like the Conjurings movies. That is so rare. That is
Mhm.
exceptionally rare. And any good
Yeah,
paranormal person, whether it's, a paranormal investigator, whether it's a medium, a tarot reader, whoever it is, if they're legit, they will tell you how rare it is to actually have a spirit that wishes you harm in your energy. Like
yeah, they don't want
exceptionally
to
so.
wish you harm.
No. Like maybe 1 out of 1,000. Okay, even if that, maybe 1 out of 10,000 is like that, right? And usually it's just a misunderstanding and, very negative energy that, it's not exactly something like The Conjuring at all. So,
Well, your
yeah,
own
I
mind could be so, like, set on causing
Yes.
that, you can do it to
Yes.
yourself. So, you gotta
Yes.
that's why I say before you do this, you need to get yourself, like, meditate, kind
Yep.
of be in a good place,
Mhm.
so you're not putting in that. Otherwise, a lot of this stuff is just what you're putting out there yourself.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I really like when Kim said, just get into that calm, peaceful state, and ask it questions. If you don't feel comfortable, then just ask it kindly to leave. Just say that, I'm not comfortable with you being here. I appreciate you being here and, and watching me or whatever you're doing, but can you just go now? It's making me uncomfortable in my space. You're usually going to feel it lifted immediately. Like
Mhm.
they're very respectful beings, if you want to see it that way.
Yeah.
Like Kim said, they ask
Sometimes they don't
permission, and
understand that they might be scaring you,
that's exactly it.
you know?
They don't know that they've crossed a boundary because they don't know, right?
No, no.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's your loved ones.
Yes, I was gonna say
So,
that. Yeah.
you know, I had one, I can maybe tell it in the next episode, but I did
Mhm.
have one that I had to ask to please, like I told her she could hang out, but
But Space
Chill.
and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I like that. Yeah, can you tell it in the second part?
I absolutely will.
Okay, good. See, now everybody has to listen to the second part of Spooky Stories to hear Kim's spooky story. Another of Kim's spooky story.
Yeah,
But
another one, yeah.
anyway, thank you so much, guys, for listening to this. We were very excited to bring it to you. I personally love October. It's my favorite month ever, not just because it's my birthday month. I don't even like my birthday, but it is because I like them what the month of October represents. I like that it's officially fall. The colors are red, which is my favorite, but red, orange, everything changes. Like I just like the energy of this month so much. And I love Halloween. It's the only holiday I absolutely love. So that's why I like this month. Anyway,
I don't like
okay.
winter at all.
I know, and I know what's happening next is the worst season. I agree. I shouldn't complain though. I'm in Ontario. Kim's in Alberta. It's worse for Kim, so I'm not going to complain this year because
It depends on where you are for water,
oh, that's
because
fair.
you guys could get pretty cold with your
Yeah,
wind
no, where
chill.
I live, we're actually at the bottom of like a hill, so all the storms and stuff tend to bypass where we are. It's why
Oh, okay.
thunderstorms last like only quick. The snow, we'll get like 5-10 feet of snow, sure, but like a lot of winter storms just go straight over us. I used to hate
Yeah.
it because when I was a kid, because no snow days, but that's okay. Anyway, enough babbling about weather.
None of us had snow days, that's a new thing.
Yeah, ice days are the new thing because there's no snow. Okay,
Oh my
being off
goodness.
topic. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to part one. We are bringing you part two next week, and then we are back to regularly scheduled programming. And Kim and I have come up with some super exciting, interesting topics for November onward for you guys. I'm so excited about like a handful of them, and we will share them in part two.
And if
Yeah.
you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know, and
Yeah.
we will, you know, talk about it
Accommodate.
or
Yeah.
see what we can do.
Absolutely. And don't forget to like, share, follow, comment, whatever on all of our social medias and on these podcast accounts. And we really appreciate it. You guys have no idea how much we appreciate you.
Yes, if you can give us whatever, give us 5 stars on Spotify
Yep.
or you can, subscribe on YouTube, and please comment. Please, the
Please.
more activity, the better.
Exactly.
And,
Kim's right. Exactly.
you know and set it up so that, you get a notification when it comes at 6 Mountain, 8 Eastern on
That's right.
Sundays.
That's right. Okay, guys, thank you so very much for joining us. We will be back next week with part two, including Kim's spooky story.
Spooky story.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.